What you just heard was the beginning of the first song that was released by Girls' Generation, a K-pop girl group that is considered to be one of the most prominent figures of the Korean wave. The Korean wave refers to the increase in the global popularity of K-pop that began around 2007, which was a result of South Korea taking advantage of digital technology and social media. But you may be wondering, how is Korean pop music related to American history? We have an answer to that. Let's just rewind a bit.
The peninsula of Korea, mountainous and forbidding, lies beneath a blanket of clouds as dirty weather hampers efforts of U.S. airmen to aid the defenders of South Korea against the communist invasion.
The Korean War was a time of devastation for both the North and South Koreans. It is not a well-known war, for it was overshadowed by the end of World War II and the Cold War, but it was important to the Koreans since it officially divided their country apart. Before the war was officially declared, it technically began when the Japanese Empire fell after World War II. The imperial custody was given to the Americans and Soviets, so they had decided to split Korea at the 30th parallel. The Americans expected the border to be a temporary thing, since the main goal was to unite the North and South together under democracy rather than communism. It officially started June 25, 1950, when the North invaded the South Koreans with 75,000 men. The Korean ambassador presented an attached resolution which requested help in their war. The president also made a public statement stating his intent to send troops across as soon as possible. The United Nations Security Council also ordered the deployment of troops in Korea to assist the South. The document was written in the perspective of the U.S. government and was written to document the events about the alliance between Korea and the U.S. The war and troops were deployed as an act to fight against communism itself, not for South Korea. Americans decided to help South Koreans when many realized it was a war against the spread of international communism. Their ambition was driven by the desire to spread democracy internationally rather than for the good of the Koreans. Although the United Nations prohibited intervention of domestic affairs in foreign countries, top decision makers within the United States agreed that it was not an option to allow communism to thrive in the President Harry Truman later issued a declaration of defense in Korea as the United States prepared for a war against communism itself. As the war began to escalate, General MacArthur has suggested the use of nuclear weapons, which President Truman was strongly against, as he still did not wish to provoke Soviet and Chinese aggressions towards the war. General MacArthur later got fired for insubordination after attempting to rally other government officials towards his war effort. After the war had ended, the resulting casualties led to extremely hard times for the Koreans, as more than half of the population were foreign citizens. Even during these hard times, the Koreans still found ways to support the war effort, and this support came in the form of music and entertainment.
Before the Korean War, an American missionary, Henry Appenzeller, taught Koreans American and British folk songs at a school in 1885, but it was after Korea's liberation from the Japanese in 1945 when Western and Korean culture first clashed with each other. In order to express their hatred towards the Japanese, they used and made songs that were a mix of American melodies and the Korean language. After the Korean War, American troops stayed in Korea, which brought over entertainers like Marilyn Monroe and Louis Armstrong.
And they say, no, 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 but do it again. My lips just ache to have you.
These entertainers caught the attention of the Korean public and influenced post-war entertainment to raise money since South Korea was impoverished after the war. The development of LP records and improvement in recording technology led to open auditions to recruit musicians to perform for the U.S. Army troops. As time progressed, Western-style music became more popular and more accepted in Korea. The Kim sisters started their careers singing in front of U.S. military troops. The troops then donated rock and roll records to the sisters. This helped expand their repertoire, and as a result, they could start expanding their music. They eventually left Korea to create music in the States, which made them the first K-pop act to perform overseas. The Kim sisters performed at Stardust Hotel, and Ed Sullivan, an American TV personality, invited them on his show. This was the first time Korean music was introduced to a huge American audience.
And now we have three sisters from Korea who rate among the most versatile entertainers in the business. They not only sing, but they play about 20 different instruments: saxophone, clarinet, violin, vibes, trumpet, drums, and several others. They would have played more, but you know how kids are. They hated to practice. Ladies and gentlemen, the Kim sisters.
When I think I'm going out of my head, yes, I think I'm going out of my head.
The younger generation of Koreans born after the 1950s grew up under U.S. influence and liked the U.S. lifestyle, which was called youth culture. It was expressed through folk music and hippie-based fashion style, similar to the New Left movement of the American students. The New Left movement was an anti-war movement and was against authoritarian government. In return, the Korean government banned folk music since it was associated with the anti-government students. In the 1990s, Koreans were influenced by American and Western culture, so music was often in the form of pop, rock, rap, and jazz. In 1992, So Tae-ji and Boys were able to impact the industry by singing lyrics about the problems of Korean society. Their music mainly centered around teenagers, which made them more popular. Their music ultimately decided the fate of K-pop later in the future as it became much more internationally popular.
One particular person who helped the K-pop industry go international was Psy and his song Gangnam Style that was released in 2012, which currently holds the 6th most viewed video on YouTube.
낮에는 따사로운 인간적인 여자 커피 한 잔에 여유를 아는 품격 있는 여자 밤이 오면 심장이 뜨거워지는 여자 그런 반전 있는 여자
BTS, a Korean boy band, has also heavily impacted the world with their music. Their popularity helped create a pathway for other K-pop idols to walk on in order to become popular and known just like them. BTS changed the music industry by opening it to more ethnically diverse artists. They are the first Korean group to ever win 4 Billboard Music Awards and 1 American Music Award. BTS just recently had a stadium world tour in which they sold out all their venues in a span of 2 hours. They sold out Wembley Stadium, MetLife Stadium, Rose Bowl, and Soldier Field. These achievements show the strong influence they have and their beautiful relationship with their fans, and it just brings us back to the whole idea of the Korean wave and how music in Korea started. It's the beginning of the rise of K-pop.